Have you ever imagined moving through the air, across the sea, or even through deep space with nothing? No propellers, no jets, no exhaust fumes. Just silent movement. Today, we're diving into a concept that sounds like pure science fiction, but is grounded in some fascinating physics: field reactive mobility. It's a single, unified way to generate motion using nothing but invisible, structured electromagnetic fields. So, how is this even possible? Let's get into it.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at what a huge shift this is from how we think about movement. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the invisible engine itself. After that, we'll see how this one idea works everywhere: air, sea, and space. We'll touch on what it takes to power this beast. And finally, we'll get into the really mind-bending implications of it all.
Okay, so what makes this whole idea so revolutionary? Well, it basically asks us to throw out a century of engineering. We have to forget about every propeller, jet engine, and wheel we've ever built.
I mean, just look at the difference. On one side, you've got our current tech, loud, complicated, brute force machines that physically push against things. And on the other side, you have this idea: a totally silent, elegant system. No moving parts to break down, no exhaust, and this is the key: a single engine that works in every single environment. It's a total paradigm shift, moving from brute force to, well, a sophisticated dance with the fields all around us.
Okay, but that begs the big question, right? If you're not pushing air with a propeller or shooting hot gas out of a rocket, what in the world are you pushing against? How do you move? The answer, and it's a wild one, is in the physics of this invisible engine.
So let's talk about how this invisible engine actually works. It's not made of pistons and gears, not at all. It's literally built from carefully shaped electromagnetic fields. Fields that can actually hand off momentum to the world around them, whether that world is made of air, water, or even pure light.
The most basic principle here is something called the Lorentz interaction. Now, don't let the name scare you. It's actually pretty simple. Imagine the vehicle runs a little bit of electric current through the air or water right next to its hull. Then, a super powerful magnetic field on the craft literally pushes on that electrified patch of air or water, shoving it away. That push is what propels the vehicle forward. It's like having an invisible hand that can reach out and push on the world.
But, okay, what about the vacuum of space? There's nothing to push against out there, right? This is where it gets really, really cool. The craft can actually push on light itself. The technique is called magneto-optic whipping. Basically, the vehicle creates a moving magnetic wave that ripples across its surface. Think of the crack of a whip. Then it shines a laser on it. When the light bounces off that moving magnetic pattern, it's like it gets slapped away. And Newton's third law still applies. That tiny push on the light pushes back on the craft, creating real, usable thrust without ever having to shoot out any fuel.
And here's the really wild part. This one core idea, this one invisible engine, isn't just for one thing. It's a universal system that can adapt to completely different environments. We're talking our atmosphere, the deep ocean, and the total vacuum of space.
So in our atmosphere, a craft would use something like UV light or radio waves, kind of like your Wi-Fi router, to ionize a thin layer of air around it. That's just a fancy way of saying it gives the air particles an electric charge. Then that traveling magnetic wave we talked about grabs those charged particles and drags them along. As they move, they bump into all the other neutral air molecules, pushing them down. And what do you get? Silent, instant lift and movement. We're talking about a perfectly quiet hoverboard or a silent airplane.
Now check this out. You take that exact same hardware, the same system, and you put it over seawater. Since seawater is conductive, the magnetic fields create these swirling electrical currents in the water called eddy currents. The system then pushes against those currents, shoving the water backward. The result? Completely silent propulsion. No propellers, nothing. It would be an absolute game changer for submarines or ships.
And in space? Well, in space, it goes completely epic with something called the plasma mast. The ship projects this enormous magnetic bubble, fills it with charged gas, plasma, and extends it for kilometers. You get a sail wider than a city, but it's totally invisible. This massive bubble then acts like a sail to catch light from a laser beam or even just the sun, turning that gentle pressure from radiation into some serious thrust.
Now, of course, a system this insane requires some equally insane materials and just a staggering amount of energy. So let's look at the key technologies that will actually make any of this a reality.
The secret ingredient, the real magic material here, is graphene. Its atomic structure is just perfect for this. You can literally program it to act as a magnetic coil one second and a capacitor or a mirror the next. This means the vehicle's entire skin becomes the engine, propulsion, energy storage, even the physical structure, all integrated into one tough, super efficient surface.
But what about power? We are talking about absolutely massive energy needs. The proposed solution is basically a modernized take on Tesla's old dream: wireless power transfer. You could have an energy web of focused beams from towers, ships, or satellites, constantly powering these vehicles while they're on the move.
So let's just try to wrap our heads around the kind of power we're talking about. To get something small, like a personal hoverboard, off the ground, you need hundreds of kilowatts. That's way more power than your entire house uses just to lift one person. Now, scale that up to a vehicle that weighs a few tons, and you immediately jump into the megawatt range. We're talking the power of a whole freight train. For a large ship at sea, we're now talking gigawatts. A gigawatt, that's the entire output of a full-scale nuclear power plant dedicated to moving a single vessel. And for that interstellar craft with its huge plasma mast, the power required is it's almost beyond comprehension. Terawatts. That's the energy of thousands of nuclear power plants combined. And at that point, the line between the physical ship and its massive energy field, it just completely blurs. And this all brings us to our final point, where we step back from the engineering and really touch on the deeper meaning of this technology. Because it's more than just a new engine. It's a whole new philosophy of how we move through the universe. You see, the real elegance of this design is how everything merges together. The same magnetic field that gives you thrust also acts as a radiation shield for the crew. The plasma that drives the ship can also be used as a super high bandwidth antenna for communications. It all works as one integrated whole, which makes the craft unbelievably efficient and resilient. There are no separate parts to fail because it's all one system. In the end, what we're really looking at is a technology where light, magnetism, and plasma become the arms, legs, and lungs of a vehicle. And as our source material puts it so perfectly, the craft does not simply push against matter, it converses with the energy fabric around it. It's a vision where we stop fighting the universe and instead learn to speak its language, the language of fields, to build the ultimate universal engine.